So you want to teach digital citizenship, huh? That's awesome. Let's look at how you might be able to do some of that. So first off, we could do the easy things, right? Like we could weave some of those topics into our regular curriculum, and then that will start some of those organic conversations, right? So like you don't teach a digital citizenship class, but you're teaching English. So you take like an editorial about too much screen time is bad for children, and you analyze their argument, or your math. You want to do some statistics and probability figuring on what is the likelihood a particular post was generated by a bot. There's a lot of ways that you can weave this kind of idea into your curriculum. But if you're like me, you've got a really tight curriculum, you've got people kind of watching over, making sure that you're on the same pace. It doesn't exactly fit in. So, what are some things that you can do? Well, I do believe that some of the best things that you can do is start to model those ideas of what it means to be a good digital citizen and model that for your students. Let them see what that looks like. Yes, talk about it, bring those topics up periodically, but just letting students see that is really a great place to start. What's some of the things you can do? Well, first off, start honoring copyrights. Like when you pull text into your class, or you pull images into your slide deck, or you're using different kinds of things, give credit where credit is due, and then try really hard to make sure that you're using copyright free material, royalty free material. Being a good digital citizen really is honoring other people's space and other people's works and other people's ideas. And so this is a great way to kind of model that, hey, the internet isn't just some big playground for you to take and use as you want, right? Like we want to be mindful of who owns this material, whose material it is. We want to show that we do respect other people, and that starts with honoring those copyrights and those royalties. Another thing you can do is put your phone away. Like I know that students have like new rules now, and they can't have their phones in the classroom, and we're really not supposed to, have those kinds of wireless communication devices out anymore, right? So start by you being intentional and obvious by putting your phone away. Ladies, put it in your purse. Put that purse in the drawer and then lock that up, right? Gentlemen, I know it's real easy to carry it around in your pocket, but then you're tempted to pull it out periodically. So, maybe as a show to the students, partially a solidarity, but partially just to show like, hey, this is when we do and when you don't use devices, make an intentional, obvious show. Putting your phone on your desk, face down, away from your workspace, right? Not pulling it out during class. Now, I know that there's times that, maybe you need to send an email to the dean, or you're sending a student to the nurse. You need to let them know. I understand that. And maybe that's where you just follow this up with, hey, let me use my phone real quick to send this quick email to Mr. So-and-so so they know what's going on, right? But just letting the students know exactly, this is the time to use it, and when it is being used, this is why it's being used, because it's an appropriate use in this particular setting. I also think too that maybe we should be modeling these kinds of, what are the ethics and what is the etiquette when we're communicating with other people, right? Like talking about how to communicate with other people. Many times in the digital space, a lot of the problems that we have come from miscommunication or a lack of communication. Like we say something, but it's not really interpreted correctly, or it's not put, a complete message. Therefore, it's taken a different direction, right? So it's about modeling those good forms of communication. One of the best places I think that you can start with, one of those great places you can start with that is just with your email, right? Like being, showing the students this is the appropriate way, right? This is the right way to do an email. It starts with a greeting. It has a complete message that's grammatically correct, and then it has like a wrap up, a conclusion, right? So I might send, a student. I expect an email from me to me from a student would be Mr. Wells. I had a question about number 4 on the assignment today. Could you please give me some direction? Thanks, Joey. or Joey Smith, right? Like we should see that kind of structure. But I think it's more than that, right? Like it's not just modeling, it's not just saying that, but it's modeling it, right? Like when you reply back, you use those steps, you have all those pieces. Let's say that Joey sends you an email. Is this due tomorrow? There's no greeting, no conclusion, no nothing, right? Then you don't just put back yes. Maybe it's Joey. Yes, this assignment is due tomorrow. Let me know if you have any other questions, Mr. Wells, right? Like being very intentional about showing this is the appropriate use. Also, too, with that, thinking about like when you post messages on your LMS or you're putting, kind of comments on your assignments that you're passing back and forth, making sure that those messages are complete, they're grammatically correct, they have appropriate tone. That will go a long way in creating that really positive communication between you and your students. Now, I know that we're not communicating with our students on social media, right? We're probably not, but they're going to see you online. They're going to see your online presence. So, what can you do to build a really positive online presence, right? Thinking about what you post and why you post those kinds of things, because when students see that and they see, there's a mismatch between, well, this is my persona in classroom, but that's his persona in this space. So why is that different, right? And students are really good at seeing through like people that are being fake, right? But if they see that same persona here and here and here, they start to really, they really start to see that this is the way that we want to present ourselves in public, right? So it's about thinking about what to post, and we're not talking about what is and isn't appropriate. I think that's an obvious those are some obvious choices and probably a discussion to be had separately, right? But posting things that are divisive or things that are meant to inflame, maybe things that aren't fact checked or could be meant to portray something in not the exact correct way, right? So we want to make sure that when our students do see our stuff online, they see that we are posting good material, good content. I know somebody's going to say, like, I have the First Amendment right to say this stuff. Yes, you sure do. But is this a persona that you want your students to see in you? I think also too, think about like we don't interact with our students on social media, but there's going to be a time when you interact with the parents on social media, right? And your students are going to see that interaction. So thinking about like if somebody says something mean about you, or a parent says something bad about you, or about the school, or about something you're involved in, right? You know, you never have to interact with anybody online. Like there's never I have to do this, I have to respond to this. We never have to interact with anybody online. And I know like the default, there are a lot of people out there that do a really good job of going online and bringing down that temperature and addressing the topic and doing it in a way that really kind of answers the whole thing but brings that temperature down. I know a lot of people can do that. There are some people that can do that, but not everybody can do that. And I think the default reaction is to fight fire with fire, right? So, maybe think about not interacting, or if you do feel like you do need to interact, say, hey, I understand that you have a question or concern. Feel free to give me a call here at school so that we can discuss this in person. Because again, that would be the more appropriate way to address problems, and it's going to solve that problem in a much cleaner way. When we're just posting stuff back and forth online, you're not going to get the full picture. There's not the full context. You're just getting little clips and stuff. So moving that conversation from the digital space to the real space will really help you understand that. And students are going to see like, oh, this is the appropriate way to respond to people, right? This is the better way to solve these kinds of problems. Hey, I know that we don't all teach digital citizenship. We don't all have that space to do that in our classes, but there's a lot of things that we can do to still model that. We can give our students a lot of insight in what it means to be a good person in that digital space.